My name is Eliza Collins, and at 58, I've learned that some truths arrive too late in life. My retirement income barely covers the basics, just enough for rent, groceries, and the occasional coffee at the diner. But over 15 years of careful saving, skipping new clothes, choosing store brands, and saying no to even small luxuries, I had managed to set aside $18,000. Not much to most folks, but to me it represented countless small sacrifices and unwavering discipline. The money wasn't for me though. What do I need at my age? It was for a chance to spend time with my son Lucas, his wife Mary, and their 10-year-old daughter Emma in Portland. Lucas is doing well, stable job at a tech firm, nice suburban house, and all the trappings of upper middle class life. But there's always been this invisible wall between us. I can see them, hear them, but can't quite reach them. Mary has never hidden her opinion that I'm embarrassingly out of date, too thrifty, too talkative, too everything. Whenever I visit, I walk on eggshells, afraid to take up space in their polished world. Only Emma's hugs feel genuine. Those $18,000, my entire savings, became my final attempt to bridge that cold gap. I called Lucas one evening, hearing the clink of wine glasses in the background. "Mom, what is it?" "I'm at a work thing," he said impatiently. "Lucas, honey." I cleared my throat, fingers nervously twisting the hem of my cardigan. "I've saved up some money, and I thought maybe I could take you all on a short trip? Just 3 days somewhere nice. Spend some time with Emma during her spring break?" A pause, then a dismissive chuckle. "Mom, if you've got extra cash, keep it for yourself. We're slammed with work and activities." The ice water of rejection flooded my chest, but I persisted. "Just 3 days, Lucas. Emma's on break, and I'd love some time with you all." He sighed heavily. "Fine, I'll talk to Mary. Nothing too far, and don't make it a whole thing." The line went dead before I could respond. You see, I've spent my whole life living for others. Now the little I've saved isn't even for me. I'm trying to buy 3 days of belonging with people who've made it clear I don't quite fit. That's the quiet tragedy of motherhood. Even when you know you're unwanted, you keep reaching out to the people who shut you out. After that call, I still let myself hope. I prepared like it was Christmas morning, pressed my nicest blazer twice, made homemade trail mix and lemon cookies, packed in clean mason jars. Every bite wrapped in care, they wouldn't notice. The morning of the trip, I rose before sunrise, checked my appearance repeatedly in the mirror, hoping I looked presentable enough not to embarrass them. When I arrived at Lucas's house, clutching my bags, Mary opened the door and gave me a slow once-over, her lips curling slightly. "Eliza, you're wearing that blazer? I thought we were going somewhere nice. That color's so mature," she said, with barely concealed disdain. I fingered the navy fabric that had suddenly become shabby under her gaze. "It's warm," I whispered, "and still in good shape." Lucas appeared behind her, grabbing one of my bags. "Come on, Mom, let's go. Traffic's going to be awful." Only Emma came rushing out with genuine joy, wrapping her arms around my legs. "Grandma's coming too. This is going to be awesome." Her smile was pure sunlight. I knelt down, stroking her soft hair, and blinking back tears. This little girl's love was the only warmth I could truly count on. We piled into their gleaming Audi SUV, me tucked into the back seat, with Emma amid luggage. Mary sat up front, adjusting her makeup in the visor mirror, while Lucas focused on driving. My homemade snacks were shoved into a grocery bag on the floor, untouched and unmentioned. And so began a trip, funded by my fragile hopes, and the quiet certainty it would end badly. Lucas headed south, toward a newly developed coastal resort. I'd originally suggested we go to a peaceful mountain cabin in the Cascades, more affordable with clean air and starry nights. "Mom, that kind of place is for retiree tours," Lucas dismissed immediately. "We're going to Suncoast Resort. Emma loves the water." Mary chimed in without looking up from her phone. "Exactly. We're doing a family trip. Let's do it right. You've got the money. Don't be so uptight about it." I opened my mouth to respond, then closed it. What was the point? My opinion never truly mattered. What mattered was spending my money, in a way they deemed worthy. At the resort, the entrance fee alone made my stomach clench. Lucas pulled out his phone and started booking accommodations, while Mary hovered, pointing at options and filtering by room size, balcony view, and amenities. Not once did either of them ask what I thought. The cost was silently assumed to be mine as numbers stacked up on the screen, like needles pricking my chest. Lunch was at an oceanfront restaurant that looked expensive even from the parking lot. I flipped open the menu and nearly gasped at the prices. I was about to suggest something modest when Mary snatched the menu and ordered for the table a seafood tower, prime ribeye, and a bottle of Cabernet. "Eliza, don't be such a penny pincher," she said lightly, peeling shrimp as she glanced my way. "It's a trip. You've got to enjoy it." The table overflowed with colorful dishes and rich aromas, but I couldn't taste a thing. Halfway through, Mary dabbed her mouth with a napkin and frowned. "This place is overrated. Not nearly as good as where we went with the Wilsons last month." I sat silently watching them critique a meal I just paid for. I wasn't their mother. I was an invisible ATM. No one said thank you. No one asked if I wanted anything. The restaurant lights seemed too harsh, highlighting how foolish I'd been to think my generosity might warm their hearts. The more I gave, the more invisible I became. In the end, all they needed from me was a card that swiped. That meal sat like clay in my mouth, my throat dry, not from the food, but from the hollowness expanding inside me. The next morning, we hiked a coastal trail with supposedly breathtaking views. I used to be active, running errands all day, helping Lucas with school projects, managing emergencies. But time takes its toll. Halfway up, my breathing turned shallow, and my legs felt like concrete blocks. Lucas and Mary surged ahead with Emma, leaving me far behind. "Mom, can you move any faster? We're losing daylight," Lucas called back, his voice echoing like a public reprimand. I flinched, my pride cracking under the weight of his impatience. Mary stood ahead, arms crossed, foot tapping. "Eliza, if you really can't make it, just wait down there. Honestly, you're holding us back," she muttered, loud enough for me to hear every word. The blow landed deep in my chest, not sharp, but familiar. I looked down at my legs, that once carried me through sleepless nights, with Lucas, stood through double shifts to help fund his college education. Now they were just dead weight to him. I kept climbing one small step at a time, shedding pieces of my dignity with every painful inch. On our way down, we passed a small stand, selling local crafts. I spotted a hand-carved wooden dolphin, perfect for Emma's collection. "Excuse me, how much is this one?" I asked gently. "Eliza, why are you buying useless junk?" Mary called out instantly. "That stuff just clutters the house. $20 is still money, you know." She barely finished her sentence before tugging Emma toward another booth selling imported chocolates. She bought a large box, without glancing at the price, 3 times more than the dolphin. My hand hung suspended in the air, then slowly dropped. I walked away without a word. $20 spent by me was wasteful. 100 spent by them was just another indulgence. That wasn't merely a difference in values. It was a canyon carved through our relationship. That night, what truly broke me wasn't an argument or harsh words spoken to my face. It was what I overheard while getting a glass of water from the hallway. Their door was slightly ajar. I hadn't meant to listen. "If you want the necklace, just get it," Lucas said casually. "But it's over 2,000. That's a lot," Mary answered, her tone laced with fake hesitation, though her excitement was evident. "It's fine, just use Mom's card." Didn't she say she still had money? My body froze. My heart seemed to stop beating. They were planning to use my card, the one I'd used to pay for this entire trip, to buy Mary luxury jewelry. I backed away silently until I reached my room, where I sat on the edge of the bed, my chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow breaths. I had thought they were simply self-centered, but this wasn't mere neglect. This was calculated exploitation. That was the moment I woke up. By the third day, I'd emotionally checked out. I followed behind like a quiet shadow, eyes fixed only on Emma. She was the single person who still smiled genuinely when looking at me. Mary was in high spirits, probably anticipating her new necklace. She snapped selfies constantly, posing against the resort's glass railings, like a lifestyle influencer. After lunch, we waited in the hotel lobby for our shuttle. Emma had Mary's phone and was playing a game. She suddenly brought it over to me for help, holding it right in front of my face. That's when I saw it. Mary's social media feed had loaded. Front and center was her latest post, several filtered shots of the resort, glamorous selfies, and underneath the caption, "Traveling with the elderly is so exhausting. Everything takes forever. Never again." My mind went blank. The blood drained from my face as my vision narrowed to those cruel words. I reached for the phone, with trembling hands, eyes locked on that sentence, like it was a physical blow. I couldn't dodge. Traveling with the elderly is a burden. A burden. That's what I was to her. Not a woman who gave everything she had. Not a mother who carefully planned every detail of this trip. Just a burden. An inconvenience to complain about online. I stared until tears blurred the screen, each one burning away another fragment of hope. I had naively believed these 3 days might buy me even a flicker of warmth. Maybe a genuine smile, a shared memory that felt like love. But all I received was humiliation, dressed up as family time. My silence was interpreted as weakness, my generosity as obligation. In that moment, the truth hit me. Some kinds of love are just one-sided delusions. Mine had become worthless in their eyes. That night, after returning to my small rented apartment, I curled under the blanket and cried the quiet, desperate tears that press down on your chest until you can barely breathe. No dramatic wailing, just endless tears, washing away every last shred of fantasy and wishful thinking. This was when I knew I would not live like this anymore. The trip ended like a one-woman play that had drained every emotion, leaving nothing but hollow acknowledgement. I returned to my apartment, not a home, just borrowed space. The house I once owned now belonged to Lucas and Mary, given to them when they married. What remained for me was this temporary shelter, bare and silent, like a waiting room where nobody ever calls your name. I stopped reaching out to them after that. No more calls asking what they had for dinner, whether Emma had recovered from her cold. On their end, the silence went seemingly unnoticed. Occasionally Lucas would call, his voice distant and professional. "Hey mom, just checking in. You doing okay? Need me to order anything from Amazon for you?" It sounded like he was reading from a mental checklist. They stopped inviting me to Sunday dinners too. That was fine. For the first time in years, I found peace in solitude. I finally had space to reflect on my life. I'd spent my entire existence orbiting around others. First my husband, then my son. Now they had their own gravity, and I was simply drifting, alone. Maybe it was time to stop spinning for others. Maybe it was time to live for me. I stared at my reflection one morning, 58 years old, and what had I done with my life? Was I going to fade away, quietly spending my remaining years, trying to please people who barely noticed I existed? I had given everything and never once learned how to say no. Perhaps it was time to take back what remained of my life and make it mine. Something shifted inside me, subtle at first, like ice cracking beneath spring's first warm day. Then came the turning point. That afternoon, I felt a mild tightness in my chest. Nothing serious, but enough to warrant a checkup. I reached for my wallet to grab my Medicare card, but it wasn't there. My stomach dropped as I searched every drawer and pocket. Nothing. Then I remembered. Mary had said she couldn't find her insurance card before our trip. She'd asked to borrow mine, just to take Emma for her checkup. Said the clinic only accepted local coverage. I'd handed it over without question, and like a fool, never followed up. I called her. "Hi Mary, do you still have my Medicare card? I've looked everywhere." A pause, then her voice, airy and casual. "Medicare card. Let me think. Yeah, I might have borrowed it. Things have been crazy lately. I probably forgot to give it back. Too casual. Far too casual for an official ID tied to my healthcare and finances. I really need it for the clinic today, I said, trying to keep steady. Yeah, I'm busy right now, Eliza. Let's talk later. She hung up. Something twisted in my gut. Her voice was too rehearsed, too smooth. Not the tone of someone who simply forgot. Then it hit me. They were planning to use my card for expenses beyond our trip, without asking. I went straight to the bank and requested to see the account tied to that card. The teller printed the statement and handed it to me. My hands shook so badly, I nearly dropped it. Transaction after transaction. Small charges, a few hundred here, nearly 1,000 there, all through payment apps I'd never used. Then my eyes landed on the one that made my knees weak. A withdrawal from my fixed savings. $8,000, transferred directly to an account under Lucas's name. I never approved that. My heart pounded as I forced myself to think. Lucas had asked for my phone several times during our trip to check directions, book tickets. He'd even asked me to input my password once or twice, saying his card wasn't working. I hadn't thought twice about it. Now I saw the truth. He'd used that time to link my card to his apps, taking what didn't belong to him. My retirement savings. The money I was supposed to live on. The bank teller looked up. Also, Miss Collins, there's a credit card under your name, opened last year. It's currently overdrawn by more than $15,000. The billing address is listed as a residence in Portland. My knees nearly gave out. I never applied for any credit card. I stood there as my life was stripped bare before me. The transaction records lay in front of me, like snakes suffocating me. Never in my life did I imagine the money I'd worked so hard to save would be drained by the very people I trusted most. Not only were they ungrateful, they didn't even think they were doing anything wrong. To them, my existence had one purpose: to be an ATM that never runs dry. That may have been the most painful moment in all my 58 years. I left the bank in a daze, but then stopped, turned around, and walked back in. I'd like to report my Medicare card as lost and freeze all associated accounts, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I also want to investigate and close all credit cards under my name. Any unauthorized charges. I want to file a fraud report. And please remove all third-party payment links. Reset account permissions and passwords. And cancel any auto-pay authorizations immediately. The bank employee looked at me with understanding in her eyes, as if she'd done this many times before. Are you sure you want to revoke your son's account access? She asked gently. I met her gaze and smiled faintly. Yes, no explanation needed. Some awakenings come late, but as long as they come in time, they still count. I'd made my decision. From now on, I would live for myself. No more giving to people who only take. That weekend, Lucas called. I didn't need to answer to feel the fury vibrating through the line. Mom, what the hell is going on with the bank? I tried to transfer money, and it says the account is frozen. Did you change the passwords? I clutched the phone, my palm damp with sweat, but my voice remained calm. Yes, I changed everything. That's my account, and I need the money for myself now. What are you talking about? He snapped. That money was for all of us. You know we use it to keep things going. You doing this out of nowhere is a betrayal. I took a slow breath. When did I ever say my retirement savings were your emergency fund? I worked my whole life for that money. And the credit card. The $8,000 you transferred from my fixed deposit. Who gave you permission for that? Silence. I could hear him processing the fact that I knew everything. Then his voice returned. Louder, angrier, defensive. Mom, you've changed. Since when did you become so stingy? Families are supposed to share. What's yours is mine. I helped you open that credit card to build your credit score. You should be thanking me. Thank you. I laughed softly. You opened it in my name, maxed it out, lied, manipulated,
and stole. And you think I should thank you? I raised you to be a decent man, not a leech. I didn't survive all these years, just to be used and discarded by my own child. There was a beat, then an explosion. Fine, fine, Eliza. Remember this, you want to be alone, then be alone. Don't expect another damn word from me, ever. He hung up. The line went dead, yet I'd never felt calmer. He tried to guilt me for protecting myself, but for the first time, it didn't cut. His outrage no longer pierced my heart, because now I understood. When family only shows up when there's money involved, it's not love, it's a transaction, and I'm done being the one who always pays. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply felt something settle. Finally, after floating too long in confusion. A quiet peace, a clean break. In the days that followed, I began quietly preparing to leave. I gathered my important documents, deed to my old family home in Ohio that I'd kept as a rental property, birth certificate, social security card, bank records, and packed them into a zippered portfolio. Like sacred items, I opened a new savings account at a different bank, transferring almost all funds there, and leaving just enough in the old account to maintain appearances. I set new passwords and told no one, especially not Lucas. For the first time in years, I felt steady, like I'd found the first stepping stone on a new path. I called my niece, who still lived in my hometown, and asked if she could help fix up the house. Nothing fancy, just get the plumbing and electricity running, maybe change the locks. She agreed without hesitation. As I sorted through years of papers and records, it felt like I was piecing together a version of myself I'd never gotten to be, a woman who lived for herself, not for a husband, not for a son, not for anyone who only knew how to take. Just as I was quietly planning my next chapter, Lucas and Mary started behaving strangely. It began with a call from Mary, her voice unusually sweet. Eliza, how have you been feeling? Last time you mentioned some tightness in your chest. Are you okay now? I kept my tone flat. I'm fine.
Nothing serious. That's good, really good, she said, pausing before her voice softened further. Say, are you free this weekend? We were thinking you should come over for dinner. I went to Whole Foods and bought your favorite cut of salmon. I was planning to cook it myself, just for you. I couldn't help the cold smile that tugged at my lips. They were up to something, no question. No, I've got plans this weekend, I replied without hesitation. Oh, come on, Eliza. Emma's been asking for you non-stop, she persisted. It's been too long since we all sat down together. Her sudden warmth chilled me more than her usual indifference. It reminded me of a saying, a cat doesn't smile at a mouse unless it wants something. I refused again and hung up, my guard fully raised. 2 days later came the true shock. I had planned to double-check the deed to my Ohio house, but when I unzipped my portfolio, it was empty. All my documents gone. My ears rang as cold sweat drenched my back. There were no signs of a break-in, which meant only one thing. I dialed Lucas's number. Lucas, I said, my voice like a blade. Did you take the deed to my house and the rest of my personal documents? There was a pause. Then his voice came through, laced with wounded innocence. The deed? Mom, what are you talking about? Why would I touch your stuff? Don't lie to me, I snapped, voice trembling but resolute. Everything in my portfolio is missing. Did you call just to pick a fight the other day, so I'd leave the house and let my guard down? Did you come in while I was out and steal from me? The silence on the other end was telling. Finally he exploded. Mom, what the hell? You think I'd do that? Are you serious? Maybe you misplaced them. You sure you're not forgetting things? There was that dismissive tone, that insinuation that I was too old to manage my own affairs. For a second, I almost wavered. He was still my son, the same little boy who once ran to me with scraped knees for comfort. Then came a knock at my door. It was Judy, my neighbor. She slipped inside and lowered her voice. Eliza, I have to tell you something, she whispered. Yesterday,
I was out back watering my plants. And I saw your son. He came by. My chest tightened. You're sure? She nodded. He stood outside your door for a while, looked around like he was searching for a key. Then he got in. He didn't stay long, maybe 5 minutes, but when he left, he was carrying something like a folder or binder. She hesitated, then added, I almost called out to you, but he looked so angry. I didn't want to get involved. Her words hit like a hammer blow. Heavy. Final. My mind went blank as the truth became undeniable. Lucas had entered my home. During the one moment, I'd let my guard down and taken my most vital documents. Silently, methodically, like a stranger casing a house. After Judy left, I couldn't move. My feet felt nailed to the floor. Then I drew a deep breath and forced my mind to work. No panic, no outburst. I had to think clearly. I knew exactly what mattered most. Evidence, initiative, and striking first. I locked the door, sat at my desk, and opened my notebook. I began listing everything needed. Report stolen documents to police immediately. File a freeze on my property with the county recorder's office. Contact a lawyer to build a case for identity theft and financial fraud. Replace every lost document.
Reroute all mail to my niece in Ohio. By sunrise, I was at the local precinct reporting that my identification, property deed, and social security card had been possibly removed by a family member without my consent. I didn't hedge or drop names. I simply stated facts. If I had waited even a few more days, I might not legally own my house anymore. I told the officer. He didn't dismiss me. These weren't rare cases. They were tragically common, and he treated mine with appropriate gravity. We'll open an investigation, he said. Can you provide photocopies or reference numbers for the missing documents? I can, I said, pulling out duplicates I'd made weeks earlier. My fear had become foresight. Next stop was the county recorder's office, where I filed an emergency freeze on all transactions involving my Ohio property. The clerk assured me that without my personal presence and valid ID, no one could legally transfer or sell the property with the freeze in place. I exhaled deeply, safe, at least temporarily. But just 3 days later, I got a call from the police department. Miss Collins, we're contacting you because someone attempted to file a co-authorization request to sell your property. The person claimed you were mentally unfit to handle your affairs and needed a proxy to sign on your behalf. My blood ran cold. What name did they use? I asked, though I already knew. Lucas Collins, the officer confirmed, an edge in his voice. Can you come in and submit a formal statement? We'd also like to verify your current mental and physical health. I smiled grimly. Absolutely. I've been waiting for him to try something like this. I arrived with my attorney that afternoon and filed a formal opposition to the attempted transaction. I handed over a comprehensive health report signed by my doctor, dated just 2 months prior. Clear-headed, physically stable, under no need for guardianship. I'd also like to file an official report, I said. Identity theft and financial fraud. My son accessed my retirement funds without permission, used my personal documents, and attempted to seize my property under false pretenses. The officer nodded. We've already opened an investigation. We reached out to Mr. Collins for an interview earlier today. Later that afternoon, my phone rang. Lucas, his voice bursting through like a cornered animal. Are you insane? You called the cops on your own son. Do you know what you've done? You could get me charged. You want me to have a criminal record over this? I quietly tapped the record button. I'm surprised you care, I said flatly. You seemed fine spending my money without asking. Did you really think I'd stay quiet forever? That I'd smile and keep letting you treat me like an ATM? He went silent, then his voice cracked between rage and guilt. Mom, what the hell is wrong with you? Mary's been a wreck. She's practically having a breakdown over all this. I almost laughed, She's upset because I stopped funding her shopping sprees. Maybe she should post about that on Instagram. Or would you prefer I send this recording to the detectives? The line went quiet. I leaned in, my voice sharp but low. Lucas, listen carefully. You can lose a job. You can fail in business. But you don't get to fail your mother and still expect her to clean up after you. If you keep going down this path, I'll walk it with you to the very end. But you'll be the one ruined, not me. Then I hung up. That weekend, he drove to my apartment unannounced. His face plastered with a strained smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mom, he called out. Can we talk? I mean really talk. You've locked down the accounts, frozen the house. Come on, we're family. It doesn't have to be like this. I stood in my doorway unmoved. Sure, but let's not waste time pretending. Are you here to apologize, or just pressure me into backing down? His facade crumbled. You think hiding out here makes you smart? Acting like some tough old lady? Those accounts, you just going to sit on them until you die? I smiled. No, I plan to spend every penny, I said, sitting down like I had all the time in the world. I'm going to sell this apartment, move back to Ohio, live off the rental income from my house. I'll take a trip to the Grand Canyon, buy myself decent clothes, sign up for painting classes and a cooking course. His face flushed red. You're really doing this? You're cutting me off just like that? You stopped seeing me as your mother a long time ago, I said evenly. Now you want me to keep acting like your bank? Sorry, I'm retired. No more contributions. I turned and walked toward my door. He shouted after me, venom rising. Fine then, when you're old and sick, don't come crying to us. You die in that apartment, no one's coming to clean up after you. I stopped at the door, not turning back. Don't worry, I said calmly. I've already got it handled. I bought long-term care insurance, put myself on a waiting list for a senior community, and arranged for medical directives. Even in death, I won't be your burden. With that, I shut the door. He stood outside a while longer, cursing under his breath, then stomped back to his car and sped away. I glanced around my apartment. It was small, no denying that, but the painting on the wall was new, my own. The cinnamon rolls cooling on the counter smelled like comfort. In the corner, my packed suitcase waited for tomorrow's flight to Ohio. Without them, I wasn't withering. I was blooming. I didn't watch as he drove away. I didn't need to. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through my windows, I watered the small potted herbs I'd started growing. The basil had just sprouted its first true leaves. I snapped a photo and posted it to my new social media account. Fresh starts at any age. Ohio, here I come. Within minutes, my niece replied, your garden room is all ready. Aunt Eliza, can't wait to have you home. Life unfolded like a flower, finally allowed to bloom. I moved back to Ohio, enrolled in a women's community center, took up painting and pottery, even joined a dance class with other women my age, who didn't believe in aging quietly. On Thursday evenings, I hosted discussions at the library. The group was called Life After 50, Breaking Free from Emotional Manipulation. After the very first session, my phone lit up with messages from local women, grandmothers, widows, mothers, all saying the same thing. You just described my life. I never imagined that in my later years, I could be seen, be wanted, not as someone's mother, but as myself. Word must have reached Mary, because 6 months later, she showed up at my door in Ohio. She was dressed plainly, no designer labels, just neutral tones. She held a small gift bag, and wore a forced smile. Eliza, she chirped, stepping toward the threshold uninvited. I brought some of Emma's artwork for you. I glanced at the bag, clearly hastily assembled, with wrinkled paper sticking out. Set it down, I said flatly. How is Emma? She misses you, Mary said, her voice softer than I remembered. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We maybe said some things that came across too harsh, but it's been tough. Lucas is not doing well at work. That has nothing to do with me. I cut in, calm but firm, and if he ever uses my personal information again, I won't be calling the police. I'll be suing. She opened her mouth, then saw the look in my eyes, and thought better of it. A few weeks later, Lucas appeared on my doorstep. This time, he brought nothing, no fake smiles, no hastily assembled peace offerings, just a wrinkled shirt and dark circles under his eyes. "Mom," he murmured, his voice breaking. I messed up. I stood in the doorway, watching him silently. My company downsized. The money's gone. Mary, she left me, took Emma to her parents' place. He kept his head down, voice barely above a whisper. I have nothing now. I was wondering if I could stay here, just until I get back on my feet. I'm not asking for money, he added quickly. I don't want to be alone. I looked at him closely, as if meeting a stranger. So now that you've lost everything, I said, my voice even and cool, you think I'm supposed to forget everything and take you in? He faltered. I know I was wrong. You already said we were done, remember? You told me to die alone, and unwanted. You made your position crystal clear. His face reddened with shame. I stepped aside and gestured to the street. You're not alone, Lucas. You've got something better, the chance to finally learn how to stand on your own. He stood frozen as I continued. If you're hungry, the community kitchen's 2 blocks down. If you're homeless, the city shelter's 3 bus stops away. He finally looked up at me, and what I saw in his eyes wasn't anger, it was defeat. The kind that comes when you realize you've burned every bridge and watched the ashes blow away. I turned without another word and gently closed the door. That night, I sat by the window watering my herb garden. The breeze carried the scent of my neighbor's roses. I picked up my phone and checked my calendar. Community talk tomorrow, weekend painting retreat next month, dinner with my new friends on Friday. I smiled. The days ahead were mine now, and I wasn't wasting another moment, clutching at things or people that never deserved my sacrifice.